today over at HartmannReport.com is titled, How Do We Stop Wealthy Right-Wing Christians, and I put that word Christians in scare quotes, from bribing the Supreme Court. And I don't get into the, why the scare quotes in the article, but, the simple reason is I don't consider these people Christians or followers of Jesus Christ. But in any case, the European Parliament and the U.S. Supreme Court are both right now embroiled in these corruption scandals, major corruption scandals. And frankly, on our side of the pond, Congress needs to act. But I've got to tell you, I mentioned this a couple days ago and kind of in passing, but this is pretty remarkable. The European Union has 703 members, if my memory serves me right. It might be 705. And they represent around 135 million, again, I'm doing this from memory, but I'm pretty sure I'm right, 135 million voters across the European Union. So, this is a substantial political body. And the police in Belgium, the Belgian police, the EU does, I don't know if they have a police force or not. They've sort of got a military, but in any case, the Belgian police have now arrested several members of the European Parliament because they're taking bribes, apparently from Qatar, from the country where the World Cup is going on. They found 600,000 euros in cash, bricks of cash, in the home of one member of Parliament. They found 150,000 euros in cash, bricks of cash, in the home of another. And apparently, the allegation is that this money came from Qatar. And it's rocking Europe right now. I mean, there's not much coverage of this in the American press because we just don't generally pay attention to the rest of the world. But this is, leading the news, or at least it was for the last couple of days, on, if you watch the BBC or France 24 or any of the European news channels, or read the European newspapers, Der Spiegel or some of the British papers. So this is just, actually, Britain is kind of trying to ignore it. They've separated themselves from the EU. But so this is what's going on there. And here in the United States, the scandal du jour is around this group of wealthy right-wing so-called Christians who spent millions. I mean, they bought a building across the street from the Supreme Court and spent millions to get close to and influence Republican members of the Supreme Court and talk them into, for example, making abortion illegal. They prayed with them over cases with those same Republican justices, and those Republican justices then cited a friend of the court brief, an amicus brief that was written by the leader of this group, and they leaked upcoming decisions to and through this group. And these two stories, the story of the EU and the story of the Supreme Court, they're the same story. This is what happens when you have politically powerful bodies that have no external oversight. The European Union does have ethics rules, but they don't have any mechanism for enforcing them. You're supposed to report any gifts you get, but it's, there's no enforcement mechanism. So in the last 2 years, there's only been 28 reports, only from 8 members of a 703-member parliamentary body. So now the EU, the European Parliament, the EP is writing their own ethics rules that they're going to impose on themselves, and they're going to create a separate body that will have oversight over them, that they can't fire, that will be independent of them, that will be able to nail them. Now, here in the United States, the Supreme Court is doing the exact opposite. The Supreme Court, in fact, at the beginning of this year, or the end of last year, the last day of December, John Roberts wrote that the judiciary's power to manage its internal affairs insulates courts from inappropriate political influence. Right. Congress needs to act. Article 3, Section 2 says that the Supreme Court shall operate under regulations defined by Congress. One of those regulations needs to be that the members of the Supreme Court must abide by the Federal Code of Judicial Ethics, that every other federal judge has to abide by. Congress needs to do this, and we need to be calling our senators and members of the House right now to demand that they do it.